checking that my chat and all my other things are coming up here. Can't see anything happening there. Maybe it's just going to reboot. Who knows? There we go. Chat's up so I can see what people are saying. Just let me check and make sure that everything seems okay on Facebook. Yep, does. Okay, so it looks like everything's working and all my channels are up and running. So as I say, my name's Julianne Richards and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in southern Tasmania. Anyway, today I'm going to make a cute hinged desk calendar, because we're all thinking of little stocking fillers and Secret Santa gifts and things like that for the people around us, the people we love. And I thought this one would be an awesome little way of making a desk calendar using the little calendar tabs that we all seem to be hurriedly buying this time of year, and also show you the Flight Airy Designer Series paper, which is gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Love, love, love. Anyway, so yes, it's actually a 90 during upcoming SaleABratio, which starts on the 4th of January. You can get this paper for free with any $90 Australian purchase. So spend $90, you can choose this paper free. Thankfully, I have 2 packets of it in my craft room at the moment, so I can show you, because I've just about used my whole first packet on these calendars that we're doing today. Now, before you get grumpy with me and say, Julianne, don't show us things that we can't buy straight away, you can do this little calendar with any of your favourite designer series paper in the world. You can use any paper. So I'm using this one just because it's gorgeous and I had to use it. But you can use it for, with just about any paper you have. I'm actually thinking it would look pretty special. Sorry, just someone sending me a message. It would look pretty special with the which one is it? The online exclusive that we've got at the moment. This one. Hang on, I'll grab my packet. It would look pretty special with this one. I think this would be gorgeous. So that's the Delightfully Floral. So yeah, well, if you've got a packet of that lying around, definitely worth giving it a go. So I've got 2 designs here that I have made. First of all, I'll just show you the paper so you can pop it on your wish list for January. So it's just gorgeous. I don't know if the colours are coming up as well as they could. There's Bubble Bath, Flirty Flamingo, there's some cute little birds, so I've fussy cut a lot of those. Flirty Flamingo, Boho Blue, just lots and lots and lots and lots of little, I'll actually read the colours. I'm not sure what the green is, probably looks like garden green. More little birds. That's the Boho Blue. There must be Pretty Peacock as well, because I'm seeing some Pretty Peacock on the next one. So there we are. Here's upside down. Upside down, Miss Jane. That looks like either Pretty Peacock or Lost Lagoon. I have to check the paper. Check the paper, the cover. There we are. Cute there. If you wanted to do some fussy cutting, there's definitely some fussy cutting you could do there. Well, this one is Pecan Pie, I think, which is cute. And it has little birds on the back as well. So, yeah, gorgeous, gorgeous paper, especially for people in your life, say like my mum, who loves birds. She just absolutely loves birds. So I'm thinking I'm going to give the desk calendar I have made to her, at least one of them. Okay, so the desk calendar. So as I say, you can make it with any paper that you like, but I have used that because I think it's gorgeous. This is the desk calendar. Now these little rings that I have here, I bought them absolutely ages ago from a stationery store. They're called hinged rings. These are 25mm ones, so about 1 inch across. I think you can get smaller ones, and probably I would, if I was doing it again, I would try for slightly smaller ones. But these are what I've used. You can come at it a different way, but which I'll show you in a moment at the end of this. But I have these. I have 14 of the 14 of them, so I thought I'd better use them for something. As I say, I've had them in the craft room for absolute ever. So that's what I've used to pop the little hinges in the top of our calendar. And I'll go through the measurements with you as we go, just at how I've thought of that. So the little calendar itself is like an A-frame with a stand at the bottom. So I'll cut one of those for you shortly. And it has 12 little calendar sheets, and each sheet has a different designer series paper, a little fussy cut bird that I've popped on, and one sheet or a month's worth of the calendar. So there we are. So January, February, March. And since I thought, well, it's a shame to waste the back, so when you flick over January for February, you turn it over and there's a February do not forget on the back, which I thought it was a waste to have a surface that you weren't going to use. So if you have Mum's birthday February, Valentine's Day February, doctor's appointment on the 14th or something like that, you can just write those things on the back, and while you're looking at the February at the front, you can remind yourself what you've actually got to do in February at the back. So there you go. So I knew I was going to get the where did you buy the calendars. I get mine from a place online called Scrap Dragon, and when I checked this morning they had sold out, or I don't know whether they were going to get more, but then somebody on my Facebook page said they get theirs from somewhere else. Just Google calendar tabs, so calendar tab, T-A-B, 2024, and you'll find the places that sell them. There's lots and lots on Etsy and eBay and places like that, but most craft shops, online craft shops, have them as well. So they come in a little, I haven't got it here, they just come in a little pad, and all I've done is rip them apart for each month. So let's pop through the months as we go, and you can see those beautiful papers as we go. January. Now, what I've used to do the don't forget on the back and the month is the Days to Remember stamp set. This is in my pile of shame. I bought it catalogue before last and I've never used it. It's still in the catalogue if you like it. So you can even stamp your own calendars there. You just basically move it along to sort of make sure you get the days of the week lined up with the dates, okay, which I've done once or twice, but it's a bit tricky. But anyway, and it has the months and everything as well. So I've used don't forget, and then each of the months there. And now that I know if I've got certain days where they have special holidays or special birthdays, I've just popped a little red heart, and that's also from the Days to Remember stamp set. So as I say, still available, really handy for stamping your own calendars. One day I'll sit down and actually work out how, but yeah, also a good one there with all those little outlines. There's a little circle there actually, I never saw that. I might use that to highlight some more days on this. Okay, so I've only got November and December to do to add to this, and I will show you how I did it as I went. So I'm going to cut another one of the little bases for you just so you know how to do it, and I'll pop, if anyone's interested, I will pop the measurements up in the description. Please ask, because often I pop the description, I take the time to pop the measurements up and nobody looks at them. So if you would like the measurements, please yell and I will do it, because otherwise I'm sort of doing work for nothing really. Okay, so this is boho blue, so this is the background colour that I'm using. So I'm going to start with 4 1/8 wide, so that's 10.5 centimetres, and I'm going to chop it down to 11 inches. And as soon as I get to 11 inches, I'll tell you what that is, about 28 centimetres. Okay, so this is sort of like the easel part, I suppose. I'm going to score this exactly in half at 5 1/2, which is pretty much 14. So you've got your normal size card there. Now for the little easel, the little foot that that stops it from falling over and gives it its strength. Going to also have our boho blue. Going to make it 4 1/8 as well. And they're mostly 4 1/8. It's just a whisper of a small amount that has to come off. It's the tiniest bit. I wish they'd just make the paper a full amount of a full round number. But anyway, all good. So then with this, you need to score it. Score it at 1 inch, which is 2 1/2, and then at 2 1/2, which is 6.9, and then at 4, which is 10.2, and then you cut it at 5. Okay, so that's a 5 by 4 1/8, and it's scored at 1, 2 1/2, 4 along the way. You can't really see that very well, but anyway, and you fold it up and you form a little W. So that's the little W you want to make. Okay. Cool. Thank you, Krista. I will definitely put the measurements up since I know that somebody's actually going to look at them and it's not a waste of time. Okay, so I'm going to burnish all my corners. Yeah. And this little piece here is going to sit inside our little easel. Stevie's in the background. You about ready to go, love? Okay. Stevie's headed up to Oatlands, if anyone who knows Tasmania at all. It's right smack bang in the middle of, well, almost the middle of Tasmania, but they have a championship quality pool, swimming pool there. So they've started having swimming meets there, which is nice and central for people coming from Launceston and people coming from Hobart. So he's headed up for the afternoon of seniors swimming. Okay, so I've attached that there. Not that, you know, I don't think he minds me calling him a senior. Do you mind me calling you a senior? He's not listening. His ears probably aren't working. That's all right. I said you don't mind me calling you a senior, do you? Not till next year. That's okay. He's not a senior till next year. So as you can see, I have glued either end of that little W to the back of the card, and it forms that little nice little stand there. So that's our stand that we're going to make our calendar on. Okay, so there we go. So now the thing is, you just need to, not just need to, you need to pop some holes in the top of our calendar, our stand, for our little calendar tabs to go on. And I'm just trying to work out, I don't want to put the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart. You need to, whatever you're using to hinge your calendar. So I've already mentioned that this is a 1 inch hinge, or it's a 1 inch diameter a little circle. So when it comes to flicking up my calendar, I don't want the holes to be too close together. So if I put these two holes too close together, our calendar's not going to flick past itself and go nicely. It's going to curl and it's going to bend and it's not going to be a nice experience. So your hole has to be just under halfway, half the width away from the edge of your hinge. Does that make sense? So that measurement there between that hole and that hole has to be less than the circumference of your hinge. Probably just have a wee bit of a play with this. Just grab some scrap and have a play and see how you like it. So I've actually popped these holes 1 inch from both ends and about 1/2 inch from the top. And that way, because I've got a 2.5 inch hinge, it folds nicely. So that's what I'm going to do with this other one. So once you've got it to the point where you're happy with it, then you can just, you can just keep repeating it. So So I'll just make sure I've got that. So as I said, it's an inch in, just to give it a nice width. Make sure I'm not a liar. Yep, it's an inch in and it's about 1/2 inch down. Yep. So if I do that on this one, we'll get the same effect. So I'll just grab my ruler. I'm going to do a wee pencil, just grab your pencil and pop a line at 1/2 inch. You're going to be able to rub this out with an eraser afterwards, and then come in an inch from each end. And those 2 spots there are where I'm going to pop my little circles, my little punch. Now this is my favourite high school punch that I've had since forever, probably 50 years old. So old that actually Stephen and I can't remember where it actually came from. He thinks it's his, but I'm pretty sure it's mine. Anyway, and it lives in the craft room, so by all intents and purposes, it's mine. Okay, so that's your little hinge thing. I'll just get rid of those lines. Okay, so when you are popping the calendar together, you can use those holes as a template to mark the holes on your actual calendar. So I'll pop that aside and I'll bring back the original because I don't want to have it be slightly different this time. Okay, as I say, I have got November and December to do. So the front-facing surface of your card, as we made it here, is 4 1/8 by 5 1/2. So the layers of, sorry, Stevie just came and waved at me, it put me off. The layers, for the next layer, these little, what are we calling them? Calendar tabs. They're fresh freesia and they go down 4 inches by 5 1/4. So I've got some here, I'll show you. So you need 12 of your contrasting colour of 4 inches by 5 1/4. Then you need your designer series paper, which is 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So just that wee bit smaller, okay? So there we are. So they are our 2 little pages there, our 2 little calendar pages. Okay, so I'm going to glue those onto there. So these are my last 2 months that I need for my calendar, so November and December. And I've mixed the colours up a bit, the papers up a bit, so I haven't got 2 months next to each other having the same paper. I've made sure that they are different. Each month is different. Okay, so there's our 2 little calendar pages. Then we've got each page, we've got November and December from our calendar on 2 little pieces of balmy blue. Now you have to gauge this by what size your calendar is. If my calendars are 2 inches by 3 inches, or pretty much close, so my little pieces of balmy blue, boho blue, are 3 1/8 by 2 1/8, just so you get that tiny little bit of a border around the edge. So whatever size calendar tabs you get, you can size up your little mat a bit. Would the smaller hinges then order it differently? If you had the smaller hinges, your hole could be closer to the top on your calendar and your pages. Does that make sense? Because you've got a smaller ring, so you could go closer to the top. Yeah, I don't know. I might try and see if I can find some smaller rings. You couldn't go too small, because if you went too small, you're just going to get yourself into a horrible mess when you try and turn the page. Otherwise, you just undo the clip every time you turn the month over, which is a bit of a pain and a surefire way that to make sure your calendar doesn't get used. And we really do want these things, if we're going to put the effort into them, we really do want them to get used, don't we? So we have to make it as easy as possible for the recipient to to enjoy it and use it. So I'm going to pop the calendar tabs on the designer series paper. Cute, cute. November and December. Now, because this is such a huge undertaking, this one, you can see there's 10 pages on this already, and it is quite hefty. I was a wee bit worried that it would get top heavy and sort of just fall over all the time. So I'm actually popping the calendars like down low, then up high, and then sort of in the middle, just to sort of re-weight it a bit so that it doesn't all end up like at the top and then they just fall forwards, which is another thing that it's just not going to get used if it falls forwards like that. So here are two little birds from the designer series paper, and I will pop them on the page as well. I haven't gone too crazy with the decorating here, definitely not putting anything like bling or ribbon, avoid ribbon if I possibly can, just because I think it's going to be hefty enough. And if you start popping extra layers there, I think you would find it would soon get far too bulky and probably too back heavy as well. Okay, so there's our little calendars. What's the word? Decorated. I'm just going to grab off one of these here to use as a template to where to put my little holes. So this one's obviously got its holes already and they are sort of lined up with everyone else. What I'm going to do is pop it on the other one, the one that we've just done. Just mark the holes with my pencil. Do it to the other one as well. And this way we can be sure that they're all going to line up nicely when you come to pop it together. Again, grab the contentious paper punch, hole punch. It's mine, but he doesn't think it's mine. And we'll pop those little holes in. Okay, so there is November and December done. So we'll put January aside. Now, as I mentioned, the back of every month has the following month don't forget on it, so that when it's turned over, that February one shows up on the back. So once we turn over into February, the February shows up on the back, so you can keep tabs of what you're doing. So in that vein, our November will have to have December on the back of it. So it has to have the month after. So our December, do not forget, goes on the back of November. And our January, you see our January, this is the tricky bit. It took me ages to work this out this morning. There's no point putting our January on the back of December because it's going to be hidden. In January, that's going to be hidden underneath everything. It's right at the back. So our January has to go on the back of our calendar, so that when we're seeing January at the front, we're actually able to see our January reminders on the back. So our January actually goes here. And when I pop it all together, I know today I'm having trouble getting my words to make sense, but when I pop it all together, you'll see and you'll go, Julianne, you're a genius. Anyway, so let's pop it all together. So that's December, November, January. Oh, December. It's back there. November, December, January. Okay, so January with February on the back. February, March, April, May, and you can see I've popped those little red hearts there where there's a special day. June, July, and each of these has one of little fussy cut bird. August, September, October, thank you Fran, I'm not, but you know, that was a sarcastic genius. October, November, and now December as well. So we'll pop these on here. So as you can see, next month when it's January, you'll be able to pop your January reminders on the back. There we go. So that's all together now. So January reminders when we can see January at the front. Okay, and then that flips through really nicely. So that stands okay. Now, it's basically supporting itself with, on each of these little calendar pages, is pretty much, because it's so heavy, it's pretty much standing itself on the table. Now, that doesn't worry me too much as long as it keeps standing. I don't mind too much. I don't want it to, as I say, get top heavy and topple over. I don't mind that it's actually sitting, the calendar pages themselves are actually sitting on the table itself. Because as you flip through, as we flip through, sort of the rings move, because the rings are all, when everything's at the front, the rings are all saggy to the front, which means everything sags to the front. But as you flick through, the rings sort of are equally divided between the front and the back, and then everything sort of flips up nicely. Okay, so then now it's sort of half and half, so it's actually not sitting on the bottom of the pages are not sitting on the table, but that's fine too, as long as it's nice and balanced and it doesn't topple forwards or backwards. I think that is so pretty. I'm going to give this to my mum because I think she would love that with her little bird thing that she has happening at the moment. There we go. So that's the big bulky version. As you can see, that's probably a good 2 centimetres, 3/4 of an inch probably, yeah, at least 2 centimetres thick. So if you're giving that as a gift to somebody, you would probably like to make a little box for it. And actually I'd protect, if I was giving it as a gift to somebody, I'd make an extra page and just pop it on top just to protect it. That's what I would probably do if I was, if I was giving it, and just to neaten it up a bit, I'd probably put an extra, just a piece of the fresh freesia on top. Maybe put some paper if you've got some spare, a little note to the person, happy birthday, a year full of wonderful things or something. They could turn it into a little card as well, couldn't you, if you put that extra page on top, which I might do before I give it away. So anyway, and as I say, you use your little stamps or your little circles or whatever. You can stamp each of the special days on the calendar, which I'll go through and do. Okay, so there's that one. There's that one, and it stands up really well, and I like that. And once you get into the swing, like with a bit of production line happening, it's not too much of an issue. And I have to tell you, I didn't fussy cut these birds. I popped it through my scan and cut. So I actually just let the machine cut the birds out, but that's just our little secret. We won't talk about that. Okay, so fairly hefty, fairly huge, fair bit of cardstock happening there, but awesome. But pretty cumbersome with it. This one is a smaller one. It only has 6 pages. Okay, same little base there. It only has 6 pages, and what I've done is each page has 2 months. So it has a month on the front and then a month on the back. Okay, so the way I see this one would work is that for the first 6 months of the year, you open it from this way. So you've got January, February, March, and I'll say something about what I'm using to bind it together. April, May, and June, all on the one side. So for 6 months of the year, you have it facing that way towards you. Once you've gone to the end of June, you turn it round and July is the next one. So July, August, September, October, November, and December. So you've got a full year there. So because we're flipping it at the end of the 6 months, January actually has December's on the back of it. So it goes January with December on the back, February with November on the back, March has October on the back, so that you can basically come at it from both different angles after 6 months is over. September is on the back of April, etc., etc. Okay, so that one only has 6 sheets, but it doesn't have that every month with a little reminder on the back. It just has the next month on the back. So if you prefer something with not quite as much card stock, then that's probably the way to go. And I'll pop the measurements for that. That's exactly the same base, but it has only half the number of pages. So if you wanted to get that, I reckon you'd just about get that into a letter envelope. It's not quite 2 centimetres thick, whereas that one, you'd be pushing to get that in a large letter, I should think. So that one you could get into a letter. Again, if you were doing it, I'd put a page on front to protect it. And on the back, I've just popped a single sheet of white. You could stamp that with some sort of lovely sentiment, or pop a personal message there as well. Now this one, I've actually tied, rather than using the hinges, I've actually just tied some pieces of our gorgeous gold and silver trim combo. So I've just used the silver one of that. So I've just linked that through the holes and tied it with a knot. Okay, so I was thinking that would be an alternative if you don't have the hook, the eyes, the hinged eyes. So I've had to basically tie that off and trim it down just so that it stays not totally trimmed, because I didn't want it to unravel, but leave only a tiny little tails there. And it works just as well. The silver's quite pretty. It is a little bit more difficult to turn, so you can see there. Yeah. So, but as I say, as an alternative to the hinges, if you haven't got them, then that's definitely a good option. Okay, so that is the smaller version. So that's the sort of I'm going to post it version, and this is the bells and whistles and reminders version. So both really, really nice. Don't know which is my favourite. I think for posting, I think I'd be definitely going that way. But with this is just, I think this one's going to go to Mum. This one's pretty special as well. And I might keep one for my own craft room, who knows. Anyway, so that is what I wanted to share with you today. There's the little, I'll pop the measurements for all of those on my Facebook page and on my website if anyone's interested in having a look at that. As I say, that beautiful paper is the Flight. It's a $90 freebie, or sorry, a freebie when you purchase $90 and or more in SaleABratio, which is starts on the 4th of January. If you were keen to get hold of it beforehand, there's one way that I know of. You join my team and you can pop and then you can start ordering during pre-order, which starts in 2 days, and you can pop this in as a freebie in pre-order, which is one of the best things about being a demonstrator, is getting to order all this lovely stuff really soon, or sooner than most. Okay, so thanks for that, guys. Apologies, my brain was very scatty there. I was trying to say goodbye to Stephen and talk to you guys at the same time, which is always a bit tricky. I can relax now because he won't be home till tea time, so that's really nice. I have the whole day to myself. Anyway, so that's good. Okay, so thanks for joining me. Have a great Saturday, or have a great weekend, and I will be back with you all again during the week. Okay,